Hey y'all, it's Amani Sawari, and I'm here to give you guys another commentary on Love After Lockup's couples for season 3. Right now, we are talking about episodes 42 and 43, and I want to break down Ray and Brittany. Not necessarily break them down, I really want to help build them up. Okay, let's jump in. So, we finally see. Oh, we can't jump in yet, y'all. Oh my goodness. I gotta give y'all a toast. The tea is really full today. Okay. Really full today. We can take a little. All right. Now we can jump in. So when thinking about MDOC, because Ray and Brittany met in prison, let's just talk about some of the conditions in Michigan's Department of Corrections state prisons. Okay. First of all, Michigan does not have any earned time, no earned credit for the days that you spend in prison, or the programs that you take while you're there, or if you graduate from any classes or earn any degrees. Like, you get no earned credit for that at all. And Michigan is one of very few states that does that. But if you're in the county or the city, there is earned time. So it's like a really weird, desperate situation for people who end up in the state system, which means that you have a sentence that's going to be over, it can be as short as 3 or 5 years that you'd be in state. Maybe if you have 3, you might end up in the city or the county. Well, county jail. 3 is too short for city. But for the most part, a lot of these people who serve time in Michigan have like 10 years, 14 years, 20 years, 40 years, okay? I have a friend that I work with who's currently serving in Michigan's Department of Corrections a 30 to 40 year sentence, okay? On top of them not having, here's aspect number 2, no earned time. On top of them not having no earned time, they also have indeterminate sentencing. That's number 2, okay? They have indeterminate sentencing. So you don't get a set number of years while you're there. You have to go in between this like barometer of minimum to max. And, there are a decent number of states that also do this, but in the majority of states, it's 20 years, okay? And if it's 20 years, it might be 20 to 25 years, and then you get earned time off of that min and max. But for people who are in Michigan, there's no earned time. So all you get is that indeterminate 40-year span or 20-year span or 30-year span, however the judge is feeling that day. Instead of in other states where it's like maybe a 5-year span or maybe 10 if it's really harsh. But you also have this huge decades-long span, and you get no earned time off of that. So you're really up in the air, okay? And the people who end up in the system deal with a lot of, daily abuse, psychological abuse, physical abuse, They still do strip searches, okay? In prison, before you go on a visit, you get strip searched. When you get back from a visit, you get strip searched. So I guess let's talk about visits now in Michigan's Department of Corrections. Let's talk about the visits. And I've been on many visits in Michigan's Department of Corrections. When you get there, you have to get there I would say 30 minutes, earlier than what you're expecting. Now they're doing COVID tests, and then everyone is, through the glass or whatever. But before, pre-pandemic, when I used to go on visits, which was pre-pandemic, you had to, everyone has a dress code. You have to wear a certain thing. There were a lot of times, I always kept clothes in the car because there were a lot of times that they would tell me to change, and, with Black women, it just happens a lot. We're the most people that go there. Who do you see in the visiting rooms? A whole bunch of, first of all, women, and then, Black women, of course. And we fill out our clothes a certain way, and they do not want us, to be looking a certain way, attracting the attention of these people here, okay? And it's all up to the discretion of whoever's, doing visitation. It could be a woman, it could be a man. Okay, so for visits, there's a strip searches. And then talking about communication and psychological abuse, A lot of people can't even afford to talk on the phone every day. And this is where people spend a lot of money on Love After Lockup, is talking on the phone. In Michigan, talking on the phone, the lowest it's ever been was like $150 or $195 for 15 minutes. Nowadays, there was a point when I was really advocating for lowering phone calls that it was like $350 for 15 minutes. And now it's more like $280 for a 15-minute spot of time. So if you make no money in prison, which most people don't, then you are depending on the loved one calling to provide that fee, to cover that cost. And that's what racks up a lot of people spending, $10,000, $20,000, $30,000. There was one time, I live in the Metro Detroit area. I had just moved back out of college from Seattle, and I was going to visit a friend for the first time. Actually, I didn't move back. I was visiting from college in Seattle. So I was only there for so long, and I was just visiting a friend for the first time. I wrote a whole article about this, but let me just tell you about the phone call piece. It was a 8-hour drive, and for most of the time that I was driving, the vast majority of the time, if I wasn't like in a restaurant or stopping for gas or something, I was talking to him on the phone, letting him know where I was at, checking in, and then alternating between listening to music or whatever, because he can't be on the phone the whole time. There's other people in line, but for a vast majority he was on the phone, right? That 8-hour drive, I spent $350 some, okay, give or take like $20, but $350 for 8 hours I spend on my phone. I have, how many phones do I have? I have 2 lines, okay? I have 3 lines, but 2 phones, okay? For those 2 phones, I spend $85 a month to talk whenever I want, okay? There's another aspect of the psychological abuse, and then also talking about the other piece of communication, you don't know, maybe you don't know, but there's digital communication. You can send an email. How much do we pay to send an email? I'll give you some time. 0, zilch, okay? Unless you have like your own custom handle on your email. You usually don't pay anything. In prison, you have to pay like 5 cents per email that you send. So that kind of stuff stacks up, and it wears on your relationships with people because of the financial burden that it is to communicate with you, and your lack of ability to really initiate in communication if you don't have a lot of money. And then you have to like pick and choose who you want to stay connected to. And the fact that our prisons monopolize on this is gross, okay? And a lot of other things, okay? So those are some aspects of the Michigan's prisons. Now let's talk about the outside and go into like Ray and Brittany and what's going on with their relationship. So Ray just got out, and now they finally, after like the honeymoon phase of them first moving in with each other and really being googly-eyed and having a great time, okay? Now they're having real discussions, and Ray's asking about when he's going to meet Brittany's family. And Brittany is very resistant on the issue, the topic, the act of doing it, everything. And for me, a lot of people don't talk to their families and keep them updated about a lot of stuff in their life, and then a lot of people do. I know for me, I will. And so if I don't, it's unusual, right? I don't know what type of on that side of the spectrum Brittany is, if she usually keeps her family updated. It sounds like, based on the way she talks about her family, that she does. So the fact that she hasn't shared with them these updates about her and Ray's relationship is very concerning, and I can see why Ray is off put by that. Like, he feels like he's not really a part of her life. And after all this time, which it's been less than a year. It's been 9 months that they've been talking, but it's still a really long time to invest in someone, especially while you're incarcerated. After that period of time, you would think that she would have worked up enough, love and respect for Ray to not put him in the type of situation of her family not knowing that he lives with her. what if someone comes over, you know? Or what if she's not home and he's there? Like, he's in confinement there. Like, her house is his upgraded cell, okay? The state is watching that he's there. He always has to be there. And he doesn't feel comfortable without the transparency in their relationship. And so, Michigan probation, you're on 2 years when you get out of state prison, no matter what. It's always 2 years. And during those 2 years, you have your person that you have to check in with. And you don't always have the ankle monitor the whole 2 years. It might just, it really depends, okay? It really depends. You're not always on home confinement the whole 2 years. It really depends on the relationship with your probation officer, how strict they are, how much access to resources they have. As new people are coming out, yes, they're going to have the ankle monitors. They're not going to keep it on everyone for that, that's so long of time, but they can, depending on how that officer is. So he has the ankle monitor on at this time because it's, been such a short period of time that he's been out. And Brittany's insecure about all those factors. And she doesn't want to share it with her family, okay? In this episode 43, Ray gives her an ultimatum. And it's because his whole family came over and they were meeting everyone, and Ray was under the assumption that her family was going to come because they have the intention of building a life together, getting married, having children. And Ray, I wasn't sure at first how serious he was about it, but it seems like, with the steps that he's taken, how transparent he is with everyone, he's serious about it. Oh, and before I talk about his family coming over, prior to that episode, so in episode 42, his grandma came over to check out the spot, and Brittany was hot about it. She did not want grandma to come over. Grandma came anyway, okay? And she put Brittany on the spotlight. Like, she asked, first she complimented her, told her she had a nice house and everything and stuff like that. But then she was like, why don't you tell your family, or have you told your family? Of course, Ray has already shared this with his grandmother. She's already got the ammo, okay? So she can't lie about it. Grandma's asking her what's going on. Ray's even egging it on, like, yeah, what's going on? And she just, weasels out of trying to address it and says, I really want Ray to get on his feet. And, us just have our time and stuff. So then in the next episode, when the family comes over, grandma's not even with the fam, okay? His mom and dad is there, nieces is there, nephews is there, brother is there, okay? We got the whole bunch, okay? And it's beautiful to see how much family support Ray has in his corner. He has a lot of people in his corner. And I really, I assume that they were in his corner during his incarceration as well, calling him, keeping money on his books. And that's another thing, commissary. In Michigan, with commissary, there's a limit on how much you can spend. You can spend like up to $85 per quarter. So there's like a $70 package, you could buy a $40 package, and it's got different stuff of snacks in it. I wrote about this on Sawari Me Too. I can link that in the description box about more stuff about Secure Pack, which is what they used at the time that Ray is incarcerated. And so there's that money. And if you're not making money, friend that I was talking about that was 8 hours up north at the time, I believe he was at, I'm gonna say Chippewa, but again, I'm gonna link it in the description. He had a job where he was able to train a seeing eye dog, right? And you make $80 off of that, taxed $80 off of that per month, right? So that's supposed to be divided between phone calls that are average $3 for 15 minutes. And if you just call your kid once a day for 15 minutes, $3, you're spending, who just talks for 15 minutes and then the lady comes on after 1 minute and says, yeah, 1 minute left, and in some states like Ohio, every 3 minutes there's someone announcing you're on the phone with a prisoner at Ohio State. Like, why are you doing that? If you're talking to somebody that you love, why in the world do these companies like Global Telling, GTL, which I can link an article in the description if y'all want to learn more about this just trash company. They're a trash company. Why would they put these recordings on these calls? Okay, so you got the 1 minute lady popping up, interrupting the line, and you gotta pay for that. You gotta pay for that weak ass phone service. Okay, so didn't we use the A word? Weak phone service. You gotta pay for that. And so it's just, that has to be divided between phone calls. It has to be divided between commissary, which if you spend $70 for the quarter on, you know, all the different hygiene items, snacks, medicines, you know, you got to get your mask, that has cost, gloves, that has cost, you know, they're not passing those out every single day, new masks for everybody, or every single week, new masks. No, they're not. They expect you to buy it or make one, okay? And we put instructions in our right to vote report on how to make one, okay? I can link that in the description. We did that at the it was like December of last year, around that time, when, you know, people were forced to make masks, but they, essential workers, how are you not an essential worker if you're supplying the products for the essential workers? How are you not one? You're an essentially essential worker at that point. But they don't get masks. So these were the conditions that these cast members were in. They were in during these times. So this is the conditions of MDOC. And because it places all this, it makes it difficult while you're inside to form healthy relationships, and especially when you get outside to form healthy relationships, because the conditions of parole make it difficult for you to even hold down certain jobs, you know, or go out with your friends on social events, or even if you're embarrassed about the ankle monitor or your partner's ankle monitor, even invite your own loved ones over. Now you're locked in your house because you can't go invite your people over and be social because you have this insecurity, which is what Brittany and Ray are dealing with. So after this party with his family coming over, you know, they eat, they talk. Ray's aunt pulls Brittany to the side. Brittany takes her to a room to have a private conversation. They talk, and she compliments her and everything. And then the aunt says, you know, pretty much, it's not cool that your family's not here. We, you know, had the assumption that they were going to be here. We're all here together. We want to meet them. It's wonderful to meet you and to see your home and to see how you and Ray are together. But it's not cool that your family wasn't here. And Brittany just says the same thing, plays the same tape she's been playing. You know, I want Ray to get on his feet. You know, my family know about him, but she leaves out the part that they don't know that he's out, okay, and living with her. My family knows about him, but I just really want him to get into a more stable place and for us to be more comfortable and secure before we just bring all these people over. And she even said, I didn't want to overwhelm him with too many people, which was just like really strange for her to say. You know, kind of demeaning Ray's ability to be his genuine self in front of too many people. I don't know what she meant by that, but anyway, Ray took it as an offense the whole night, okay? His family even egged him on about it when they were outside just talking and stuff. And even Ray's dad, who came, was just like, why she say overwhelm him? Like, what did that mean? What does she mean? And Ray's dad wasn't happy about it, and Ray's dad and mom has met her on another occasion. So the fact that they're not happy with her at this point, during this period when things are supposed to be getting even better, is not a good sign. But Ray gives her the ultimatum after his family leaves, and they wake up the next day, it seems like, or maybe it was that night, not sure, but he gives her the ultimatum, like, yo, you gotta let your family know about me, and I gotta meet them. And she's like, when? And he's like, now. Call your pops now. And I was like, ooh, Ray, I wasn't sure. And I didn't know how I felt about him saying, like, you know, now. But Brittany was like, you want me to do it now? And he was like, yes. And so she went into the room at that moment and called her dad. And I was glad Ray didn't, like, stand over her. I guess that would have been like, bro, you're not her officer. But he wants to see it get done. She's been putting it off for too long. So that episode ends with her on the phone with her dad, saying, you know, I got something to tell you. I just want to give you updates. She made it sound more like, she was like, I want to give you updates. She didn't use it like, we gotta talk kind of language, but I just want to tell you about my life and give you updates and stuff. But you kind of feel the tension in it. Like, this is something that I've been holding back and I want your approval on. Was kind of where she was going with it. And Dad was like, okay. Same way my dad would probably respond, just, okay, like, when? Tomorrow. Okay, tomorrow. Bet. See you then. And that was the end of that conversation and that episode. So, that episode with Ray and Brittany. So, I actually do appreciate that Ray pushed Brittany. I guess that's what it took. He's learning her. He's getting to know her. He sees that she's not going to take the initiative. So, he's going to push him. He's going to be the man about it and get it done. And it was cool to see that. And I see him, you know, taking the steps, keeping up with his word. He's not a Jeff in this situation. He's not left her at the altar multiple times. He didn't egg her on, you know, telling her all the stuff he's gonna do and not do it, like Josh with Courtney. But we've only seen him for a few weeks, so we gotta give him some time. But even in the short period of time, he's been following his word and really like keeping up with the standards that he's setting and actually pushing Brittany to those standards to meet him there in the relationship. And you think, you know, Brittany, she's older than him by like maybe 6 or 7 years, not too much. He's like in his 20s. He's kind of young actually, and she's like, you know, mid-30s. So she's just more mature. She's also young, but she's more mature than him. So you would think that she'd be able to communicate better, but people are raised differently. You see, she's not communicating with her family well. How can she communicate with Ray well? And Ray's holding him up on that end. So the effects that MDLC has had on Ray, you know, we learned that Ray lost his mother. In, you know, other contexts he talks about this, but he hasn't gone into depth about it. But he hasn't gone into depth about it in the show yet. But it is something that plays a role. Like, for a lot of people that I know that are incarcerated, they did lose a parent. And in a violent way, like, in a lot of different ways. But violence, losing the loss of a parent unnecessarily, unexpectedly at a young age, you know, before you've been able to have your child and let them experience being a grandparent, at least, it's just, you know, hard. So Ray has to live with that, and he went in the wrong direction because of that. We see this narrative a lot. And so to see Ray be able to communicate beyond that trauma, pre-prison trauma, and then during prison trauma, now for him to get out of all of that, you know, be out, be free, you know, have a woman by his side, be living in a home that's in a nice area, be stable, you know, and for him to be kept a secret is unacceptable. It's unacceptable for Ray, and I'm glad that he is keeping standards for himself and respecting himself, because Brittany isn't respecting him right now. So he is making sure that that respect is going to be elevated and maintained. And so I like seeing that. I think it's going in a good direction for Ray. And I think that they're learning as a couple. They're learning one another, seeing how they move. And, you know, Ray's helping her communicate better. So it's good to see. So that is my analysis on Ray and Brittany and how MDLC has impacted where their relationship is right now, and specifically how Ray communicates in the relationship. And it's good to see that he is actually, you know, pushing Brittany. pushing Brittany. So see you guys in the next one.